How's it going, team? This is the Brown Man. I hope all is well. So for today, I'm gonna go over the asymmetrical genre, or the 4v1 genre, right now, and what's holding Evil Dead back. I like Evil Dead the game. I think in terms of 4v1 games, it is mechanically superior. So when Evil Dead the game, you play as 4 survivors, and you face off against the demon player. The demon player moves around as this formless entity, and they possess things, and then they can use those possessed units to attack the survivors. Meanwhile, the survivors have to gather 3 pieces of a map, and then hold out 2 points, being the dagger and pages, and then from there, defeat the dark ones, or hold triangle, and drain their health, and then defend the book for 2 minutes. During this whole time, there is a bunch of AI units that will run up to you and attack you. The demon, of course, can spawn units, and then possess units go after you, and they can summon, in some cases, would be the trump card, which would be the boss unit. When it comes to Evil Dead, there's going to be some balancing issues, but one of the main things that hold it back is everything is licensed. Anything that they want to bring into this game has to be approved by some kind of rights holder for one of the franchises of Evil Dead. That immediately slows down production because they can't add or do things on a whim. That's an immediate disadvantage there. Next up is going to be money. When people are investing and they want to invest and give characters, one thing that turns a lot of no's or maybes into a yes will be the ability to turn a profit. And when they started this game, they said they didn't want microtransactions. Some people cheered. I was concerned, but I didn't have a clear look on what would happen. I thought they probably had a bit more of a plan. It doesn't sound like it. So even if they couldn't bring a bunch of DLCs in initially, if they had microtransactions to buy cosmetics and whatnot, then the rights holders will probably be a bit more okay with giving them tools and whatnot, I think, right? Because businesses want to make money, so the more money they make off of the IPs, the more likely they are to give the green light for certain things. Also, when it comes to, we'll say, content, I think the studio is relatively small. I do appreciate the work that they did, but having maybe a bit of a small staff kind of fucked them over. They were late for adding several things, and I do like the mechanics, I do like some of the stuff, but it seems like for a game with this passionate of a player base, with this Saber kind of, I think delegating this to a small team really crunched a lot of stuff. So I appreciate those that worked hard on this. They also didn't really listen to some of the feedback. I think it's important that they learn from Dead by Daylight. And speaking of Dead by Daylight is a game that's going on its 7th anniversary, or in the 7th anniversary, and they've had plenty of time for trial and error. They went through a phase where they had poor communication. Evil Dead did not learn from this phase of Dead by Daylight, and they have began having really bad communication. Dead by Daylight was also relatively small and niche, and then it started expanding once it added licensed characters, and once it started adding the actual in-game store, microtransactions, Microtransactions are, I think, a necessary evil for live service games with continuous updates. Continuous updates can't be free. This isn't the old days of you buy a PS2 game and everything comes on the game. If you want something with a bunch of content drops, then you're going to have to pay in some kind of way, shape, or form, because people are continuously working on it. And that means that person needs to get paid for their time. So I'm okay with microtransactions because that encourages people to keep working and keep getting paid. Dead by Daylight has a very simple premise. It's actually a lot more simpler than Evil Dead, any character can have any perk on them, unlike Evil Dead, where characters are more unique. So on top of having a bunch of cosmetics built up over the years, characters are essentially plastic. They can be molded into whatever playstyle anybody wants, and they can all have duplicates of certain perks and duplicates of certain characters. So immediately, it has a wide, easy to get it to appeal. And then of course the gameplay being super simple, it's there's no clear win or loss condition, and that works in Dead by Daylight's favor, because let's say most people really think that they lost because you know, we'll say they die in Dead by Daylight, right? But there isn't a team win or loss condition. So if someone leaves, then the crew is like, oh, you know what? Even though the killer killed like 3 of us, at least somebody made it. There's some kind of compensation, some way for people to collect their bearings and feel like they won, kind of, at the end. And Evil Dead, it's win or lose. That's it. Of course, it is an older game, so once again, 7 years versus the 1 year that Evil Dead has been around. I love Evil Dead the game, but they do need to learn that. And the other thing too will be the main difference between Dead by Daylight and Evil Dead. Evil Dead is not the golden child of Saber. Dead by Daylight is the golden child of behavior, or BHVR. They have brought themselves out of Starbreeze in order to fully own this game. This game is most of their stuff. Even when they try to branch out to make other games, those other games typically did not do well, or not doing well, unless it's Dead by Daylight created, or Dead by Daylight associated. Dead by Daylight is their main game, is their main franchise. And even showed for the anniversary, they're working on other games that's kind of has to do with Dead by Daylight. Like, Dead by Daylight is its own franchise now, and they have to respect that. And that is the kind of thing. They did kind of paint themselves into a corner of just DBD, but there's a lot of money-making potential in regards to microtransactions, licensing, all this extra stuff that they have. Evil Dead is kind of in a corner right now, where everything has to be slower, everything has to be probably paid for. There needs to be probably some payment up front, or license holders take a cut, because, you know, you're not gonna let someone use your shit for free. Right? Dead by Daylight, they can make their own original chapters and get all the money back without sharing with, you know, pretty much anybody. There might be some business partners or whatever, but for the most part, they get to keep a lot of that money. So Evil Dead is in a bit of a stint. A mobile game that I have been playing is Identity 5. Identity 5 is not bad. It is definitely a Chinese gacha game, though. So just be a little bit mindful that some equipment you can't buy outright. You have to do loot boxes for. It's not the best. I'm not going to get addicted to loot boxes, but I do like the charm of some of the characters and how they look like little Coralindos. So that is the main thing holding back Evil Dead. The fact that it is not the golden child of Saber. The fact that everything is licensed. There's nothing original in Evil Dead the game. There might be units or something that is specific to the game, but anything in this game has to have some kind of license, some kind of okay by a license holder. That was even revealed in a Q&A, that even if they make an original character, it has to be okayed by, you know, the Sam Raimis, probably the Bruce Campbell, you know, the people who own certain things. Even if it was maybe possibly, was it Lionsgate? Maybe Lionsgate. But that's what it is, guys. And I do hope that they release a patch, at least something for balancing. And then I hope that after that, they open up and revamp the store. I don't think it's too late for Evil Dead the game. I think they need to revamp. I think they need to open microtransactions. They have to open microtransactions. It's suicide not to. It's suicide to the game. This game can be so big. This game could be the golden child of Saber, to be honest. It's something that they can work on for years and generate a shit ton of revenue for while they make other games. I think it is foolish for them not to, especially for people who really like money. This is the GOAT. You talking about Evil Dead, you talk about the original Cabin in the Woods, baby, and they're not really. I don't know what's going on, but it's a little disheartening. But I'll still be positive about this game. I will still make videos about this game. I'll still continue to do my best to educate anybody watching my videos. But it's just sad to see kind of how much potential this game had just being gone, probably because of like agreements and all this corporate shit and legalese that I can't speak. But if Evil Dead wants to make a comeback, they have to do microtransactions, they have to do balance patches, they have to hit fucking Ruby, they have to do some of this stuff, and they have to kind of rebalance the entire flow of the match. As I said earlier, there is a clear win and loss condition. Very clearly losing, despite, you know, even trashing the demon at times, losing in the last 2 minutes of the match, just because you don't have a certain items, or you couldn't find certain items, or, you know, it's just bad. It's just a bad thing, and it feels bad to get absolutely ignored and get stomped on as demon, but also feels bad as survivor to completely stomp the demon, and then because the demon ignores you for 2 minutes, they win at the end. So they need to do something about that book phase. Once players on both sides can generally feel better about their gameplay, nothing's going to be perfect, but once they feel better, then it's going to be great. Because I remember Dead by Daylight had it falling off, and they had several Operation Healths that has actually allowed Dead by Daylight to do much better. So I have faith in Evil Dead. Bring in the merch, bring in Operation Health, and get this baby started. I will be doing a tournament later this year. I want this game to do well. I want people to keep playing. But it can't just be dedicated fans like me putting in way more effort than the devs. It's just not going to work. The devs need to communicate. Y'all be safe, stay hydrated, and of course, have a good one.